Ladies and gentlemen, today we dive into an intriguing truth about relationships, why men often fall harder for women who let them go. It may seem counterintuitive, but psychology and experience both reveal that a woman's ability to walk away can make a man desire her even more. Let's explore 6 key reasons why this happens. The power of scarcity is one of the most fundamental principles of human psychology. It governs our desires, decisions, and the way we value things in life. When something is rare, difficult to obtain, or not freely available, it immediately becomes more desirable. This concept applies to many aspects of life, from economics to relationships, and is a key reason why men often fall harder for women who let them go. Men, like all human beings, are wired to chase what seems unattainable. When something or someone is always available, easily accessible, or taken for granted, the natural tendency is to devalue it. However, when that same thing becomes scarce, its value skyrockets. This is why luxury brands, limited edition products, and exclusive experiences hold such immense appeal. People crave what they believe is rare. The same principle applies in romantic relationships. When a woman allows herself to be too readily available, constantly chasing or seeking validation from a man, she unconsciously lowers her perceived value. On the other hand, when she is willing to walk away and not force a connection, she triggers a psychological shift in a man's mind that makes him see her in a completely different light. Men by nature are hunters and problem solvers. The thrill of the chase excites them, and they derive satisfaction from pursuing something they believe is worth their time and effort. When a woman makes herself too available, there is no challenge, no excitement, and no sense of accomplishment in winning her over. But when she maintains an air of independence, shows that she can live a full and happy life without constantly seeking a man's attention, she creates a sense of mystery and intrigue. The man starts to wonder, why isn't she chasing me like others do? This curiosity sparks interest, and interest soon grows into admiration. Scarcity also plays a crucial role in how we process loss and regret. When a woman decides to walk away from a man who doesn't value her, she suddenly becomes something he can no longer have. In that moment, he begins to reflect on her qualities, the moments they shared, and what made her unique. He starts to compare her to other women, realizing that she possessed qualities that others do not. The absence of her presence forces him to see her worth in a way he might not have when she was readily available. This is why many men only truly appreciate a woman once she has distanced herself. Furthermore, the principle of scarcity is deeply linked to the idea of exclusivity. When a woman respects herself enough to set boundaries and refuse to tolerate mistreatment, she communicates that her love, attention, and energy are valuable and not meant for just anyone. This makes her stand out. In a world where many people are willing to settle, a woman who upholds her standards is seen as rare, and rarity breeds desire. Men subconsciously recognize this and feel a heightened sense of urgency to pursue and retain the affection of such a woman. Another important aspect of scarcity is that it forces men to invest emotionally. When something is easily attainable, people don't feel the need to put in effort or commitment. However, when something requires time, patience, and genuine effort, it creates a stronger emotional bond. This is because people tend to value things that they have worked for. In relationships, if a woman constantly gives without requiring any effort in return, a man may enjoy the convenience but will not feel deeply connected to her. But if she holds her own, expects mutual effort, and isn't afraid to walk away, he is forced to either step up or lose her. If he truly cares, he will rise to the occasion. Additionally, scarcity forces a man to reflect on what he truly wants. If a woman removes herself from his life, he has to make a decision. Was she someone worth fighting for, or is he willing to let her go? This moment of reflection can be a turning point in how he sees the relationship. When something is rare and at risk of disappearing, people become more attentive and appreciative. It's the same reason why we value time more when we know it is limited, because we realize how precious it truly is. However, it is important to note that scarcity should not be used as a manipulative tactic. The key is authenticity. A woman should not pretend to be unavailable just to play mind games. Instead, she should genuinely embrace a life of self-respect, independence, and high standards. When a woman naturally exudes confidence and self-worth, she doesn't need to convince a man of her value. He will recognize it on his own. She becomes scarce not because she is playing hard to get, but because she is genuinely focused on living a fulfilling life with or without him. In conclusion, the power of scarcity is a psychological phenomenon that influences the way people perceive value, desire, and appreciation. When a woman is willing to walk away from a man who does not fully value her, she becomes rare, and rarity commands attention and admiration. Men, driven by the instinct to pursue what is not easily obtainable, begin to see her differently and often fall harder once they realize they can no longer take her for granted. True scarcity comes from self-respect, high standards, and the confidence to know one's worth. A woman who embodies these qualities will never have to chase love because love will find its way to her. Respect is one of the most fundamental elements of any meaningful relationship. It is not something that can be demanded or expected simply by virtue of being in someone's life. It must be earned. In romantic relationships, especially, respect plays a crucial role in determining whether the connection will thrive or falter. When a woman commands respect, she elevates herself in the eyes of a man, making her presence valuable and unforgettable. Conversely, when she tolerates poor treatment or compromises her self-worth, she risks being taken for granted. This is why men fall harder for women who uphold their self-respect and refuse to settle for anything less than what they deserve. One of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships is assuming that love and respect are automatically given. However, love without respect is shallow, and admiration without boundaries is fleeting. When a woman respects herself, she sets the tone for how others should treat her. She does not allow herself to be a doormat, nor does she beg for attention. Instead, she carries herself with dignity and ensures that any relationship she engages in is built on mutual appreciation rather than dependency. Men instinctively admire women who do not tolerate disrespect because it shows strength, confidence, and emotional maturity. A woman who earns a man's respect understands the importance of boundaries. Boundaries are not walls meant to push people away. They are guidelines that define what is acceptable and what is not. When a woman enforces her boundaries, she communicates that she values herself and will not tolerate mistreatment. If a man crosses the line, she does not hesitate to walk away rather than compromise her standards. This attitude creates a psychological shift. When a man sees that a woman is willing to leave rather than endure disrespect, he understands that her love is not unconditional unless it is reciprocated with equal respect. This makes her more valuable in his eyes because he realizes that she is not afraid to lose him if it means staying true to herself. Moreover, respect is deeply tied to how a woman carries herself. Confidence, independence, and self-assuredness are qualities that naturally attract admiration. When a woman knows her worth and does not rely on a man for validation, she becomes a source of inspiration rather than an emotional burden. She does not need constant reassurance because she is already secure in herself. Men are drawn to women who exude this kind of strength because it makes them feel like they are in the presence of someone who can stand on her own yet choose to share her life with them. This voluntary companionship rather than dependency fosters a deeper and more meaningful connection. Respect is also reinforced through actions rather than words. A woman can say she deserves respect, but if her actions contradict her words, her message loses credibility. For instance, if she continuously forgives blatant disrespect, ignores red flags, or stays in a relationship where she is undervalued, she unintentionally communicates that she is willing to accept less than what she deserves. In contrast, a woman who follows through with her standards and removes herself from situations that do not honor her will always be seen as someone of high value. Men, whether consciously or subconsciously, respect and admire women who hold themselves to a higher standard and do not waver in their self-worth. Another important aspect of earning respect is the ability to maintain independence. When a woman has her own goals, ambitions, and passions, she is seen as more than just a romantic partner. She is a person of depth and substance. Men respect women who have a sense of purpose beyond their relationships because it shows that they are not defined solely by their romantic connections. This kind of self-sufficiency creates a dynamic where the relationship is not built on neediness, but on genuine admiration and partnership. A woman who chases her dreams, nurtures her interests, and continues to grow is far more intriguing and valuable than one who makes a man the sole focus of her existence. Additionally, the way a woman handles conflict and challenges determines how much respect she commands. When faced with difficulties, does she react emotionally and impulsively, or does she handle situations with grace and composure? Men respect women who can navigate conflicts with intelligence and dignity, rather than resorting to unnecessary drama or emotional outbursts. A woman who can communicate her needs clearly, stand her ground without being aggressive, and express herself with confidence gains a level of respect that cannot be easily shaken. Furthermore, respect is not just about how a woman interacts with a man, but also about how she treats herself and others. A woman who is kind yet firm, compassionate yet strong, and loving yet self-respecting will always stand out. She does not engage in gossip, pettiness, or negative behavior because she understands that her energy is valuable. She surrounds herself with people who uplift her rather than those who drain her, and she does not seek validation from external sources. Men take note of this and are naturally drawn to women who exhibit such self-discipline and integrity. Ultimately, the reason men fall harder for women who earn their respect is that respect breeds admiration, and admiration deepens emotional attachment. A man may be attracted to a woman's beauty, but it is her self-respect and the way she carries herself that will make him stay. When a woman refuses to settle, upholds her boundaries, and maintains her independence, she creates an aura of exclusivity that makes her irresistible. She does not need to chase, beg, or compromise. She simply exists as her best self, and in doing so, she commands a level of respect that makes her unforgettable. The psychological chase is one of the most powerful dynamics in human relationships, particularly in romantic pursuits. It is rooted in human nature, driven by desire, challenge, and the innate need to pursue what seems just out of reach. People, especially men, are wired to value things that require effort, and this applies strongly in relationships. When something is easily obtained, it often loses its perceived worth, but when it requires patience, strategy, and persistence, it becomes significantly more desirable. This is why the psychological chase plays such a crucial role in attraction, and why it can determine the depth of emotional investment in a relationship. At the heart of the psychological chase is the principle of scarcity. People tend to place a higher value on things that are not easily accessible. In the context of relationships, a woman who is selective and does not give her attention freely creates an aura of exclusivity. This scarcity makes her presence more valuable, as it sends a signal that she is not desperate for attention and will not settle for just anyone. When a man perceives that he must work to earn a place in her life, he becomes more engaged in the pursuit. This is not about playing games or being manipulative, but rather about understanding that people appreciate and respect what they have to earn. Another key aspect of the psychological chase is the role of challenge. Humans are naturally inclined to enjoy challenges because they activate the brain's reward system. When a man has to put effort into winning a woman's affection, it triggers a sense of purpose and motivation. If everything comes too easily, there is little to no excitement or sense of achievement. On the other hand, when a woman sets high standards and does not immediately give in to pursuit, she creates a challenge that makes the chase rewarding. This is why men often fall harder for women who maintain their independence and have their own lives outside of a relationship. It forces them to step up, prove their worth, and work for the connection rather than taking it for granted. The psychology of effort and reward plays a major role in why the chase intensifies attraction. When a person puts effort into something, they subconsciously value it more. This is known as the effort justification principle in psychology, which explains why people tend to become more attached to things they have invested their time and energy into. In relationships, when a man works hard to win over a woman, he naturally places more value on her. He sees her as a prize worth fighting for rather than just another option. This emotional investment deepens his attachment and makes him more committed. If a woman simply hands over her attention and affection without requiring any effort, the man may not feel the same level of appreciation or desire to commit. The psychological chase also ties into the concept of unpredictability. When something is predictable and consistent, it becomes less exciting. However, when there is an element of uncertainty, the brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and motivation. In relationships, unpredictability creates an element of intrigue that keeps the attraction alive. A woman who is always available, overly eager, or too accommodating may be seen as predictable, which can reduce the thrill of the chase. On the other hand, a woman who keeps a man on his toes by maintaining her own life, interests, and sense of mystery keeps the attraction alive. This does not mean being manipulative or distant, but rather ensuring that the relationship does not become monotonous or one-sided. Another psychological factor at play is the concept of perceived value. When someone is seen as high value, they naturally attract more attention and admiration. A woman who respects herself, has high standards, and does not tolerate disrespect is perceived as having a higher value. Men are drawn to women who know their worth because it signals confidence and self-sufficiency. The more a woman demonstrates that she is not easily won over, the more a man feels the need to prove himself. This increases his emotional investment and makes the relationship more meaningful to him. When a woman is too available, she risks being taken for granted, because there is no sense of exclusivity or uniqueness in the connection. Additionally, the psychological chase is influenced by the principle of loss aversion. People fear losing something they have worked hard to attain. When a man feels like he could lose a woman, if he does not put in the necessary effort, he is more likely to stay engaged in the chase. This is why it is crucial for a woman to maintain her standards and boundaries even after a relationship begins. If she lowers her standards or becomes too accommodating over time, the dynamic of the chase disappears and the excitement may fade. A woman who continues to challenge and inspire a man even after he has won her keeps the relationship fresh and exciting. Moreover, the psychological chase is not just about men pursuing women, it works both ways. Women are also drawn to men who display confidence, ambition, and a sense of challenge. A man who is too needy or too available may be perceived as less attractive because he does not present a challenge. However, a man who has his own goals, is selective about his time, and does not immediately seek validation from a woman creates an air of intrigue that keeps her interested. The balance of pursuit and independence is key to maintaining attraction on both sides. Ultimately, the psychological chase is about creating a dynamic where both people feel motivated to invest in the relationship. It is about maintaining a sense of excitement, value, and appreciation for one another. A woman who understands this dynamic does not chase love, she attracts it by being the best version of herself. She does not settle, does not beg for attention, and does not compromise her standards. Instead, she allows the right person to pursue her, knowing that the effort he puts in will ultimately strengthen his emotional attachment. The more effort someone invests in a relationship, the more meaningful it becomes to them. This is why the psychological chase remains one of the most powerful forces in attraction and why men often fall hardest for the women who understand and embrace it. Emotional independence is one of the most attractive qualities a person can possess. It is the ability to be happy, secure, and fulfilled on your own, without relying on someone else to provide your sense of self-worth. When a person is emotionally independent, they radiate confidence, stability, and self-assurance, which naturally draws others toward them. In relationships, emotional independence is especially magnetic because it creates a sense of balance and prevents neediness or desperation, which can often push people away. At its core, emotional independence means that a person does not seek validation or fulfillment from external sources. They do not need constant reassurance or attention to feel good about themselves. Instead, they derive their happiness from within. This self-sufficiency is incredibly attractive because it signals strength and maturity. When someone does not depend on another person to complete them, they become more desirable, as they offer something valuable to a relationship without demanding too much in return. They are not looking for someone to fill a void, but rather for a partner to complement their already fulfilling life. One of the key reasons emotional independence is so magnetic is that it removes pressure from a relationship. When someone is overly dependent on their partner for emotional stability, it creates an unbalanced dynamic where one person feels burdened with the responsibility of making the other happy. This can quickly become exhausting and may lead to resentment. However, when both individuals in a relationship are emotionally independent, they can enjoy each other's company without feeling like they must constantly reassure or uplift the other person. This sense of freedom and balance strengthens the connection rather than weighing it down. Another major factor that makes emotional independence so attractive is that it fosters self-confidence. People who are emotionally independent are secure in who they are, which naturally makes them more appealing to others. Confidence is one of the most attractive traits because it signals competence, self-respect, and a positive self-image. When someone is confident in themselves, they do not seek approval or chase after validation, which creates an aura of mystery and intrigue. Others are drawn to them because they exude a sense of self-assuredness that is rare and refreshing. Emotional independence also enhances one's ability to set healthy boundaries. A person who is emotionally independent understands their worth and does not allow others to take advantage of them. They do not tolerate toxic behavior, nor do they feel the need to stay in unhealthy relationships out of fear of being alone. This self-respect is incredibly attractive because it shows that they have standards and are not willing to compromise their values just to keep someone in their life. When a person respects themselves, others naturally respect them as well, making them even more desirable. Another reason emotional independence is so magnetic is that it creates a sense of stability. People who are emotionally independent are not easily shaken by external circumstances. They do not fall apart when faced with challenges, nor do they rely on others to solve their problems. Instead, they handle difficulties with resilience and composure, which makes them strong and dependable. In relationships, this stability is incredibly valuable because it allows both partners to support each other without feeling overwhelmed. A stable, emotionally independent person brings a sense of peace and reliability to a relationship, making them highly desirable as a partner. Furthermore, emotional independence promotes personal growth and self-improvement. When someone is not reliant on a partner for their happiness, they are more likely to focus on their own goals, passions, and self-development. They invest in themselves, pursue their dreams, and continuously work on becoming the best version of themselves. This ambition and drive make them even more attractive because they demonstrate a strong sense of purpose. Others are naturally drawn to people who are passionate about life and are actively working toward their goals, as it shows determination and ambition. Another crucial aspect of emotional independence is that it prevents unhealthy attachment styles. When someone lacks emotional independence, they may develop codependent tendencies, where they feel incomplete or lost without their partner. This can lead to clinginess, jealousy, or insecurity, which can strain a relationship. On the other hand, an emotionally independent person does not need constant reassurance or attention to feel secure. They trust in themselves and their partner, allowing the relationship to flourish without unnecessary stress or pressure. This sense of security makes them highly attractive as they bring a calm and confident energy to the relationship. Emotional independence also enhances communication and conflict resolution skills. People who are emotionally independent do not let their emotions control them or dictate their reactions. They are able to communicate their thoughts and feelings in a healthy, constructive manner without resorting to emotional outbursts or manipulation. This ability to remain composed and rational makes them excellent partners, as they can handle disagreements with maturity and understanding. Healthy communication is a key factor in any successful relationship, and emotional independence plays a crucial role in fostering open, honest, and respectful discussions. Moreover, emotional independence creates a sense of freedom in a relationship. When both partners are emotionally independent, they do not feel suffocated or restricted by the relationship. They allow each other to have personal space, maintain individuality, and continue growing as individuals. This sense of freedom strengthens the relationship because it is built on trust rather than control. Each person knows that their partner is with them by choice, not out of fear of being alone. This makes the relationship more fulfilling and long-lasting, as it is based on genuine connection rather than dependency. Additionally, emotional independence allows people to enjoy solitude without feeling lonely. Many people fear being alone because they rely on others for emotional fulfillment. However, those who are emotionally independent understand that solitude is not the same as loneliness. They enjoy their own company, use alone time for self-reflection and growth, and do not feel the need to constantly be surrounded by others. This ability to be content on their own makes them even more attractive because it shows that they are whole within themselves. They do not seek relationships out of desperation, but rather out of a genuine desire to connect. In the end, emotional independence is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. It fosters confidence, stability, personal growth, and healthy relationship dynamics. People who are emotionally independent do not rely on others to make them happy, set strong boundaries, and maintain a sense of self-respect that naturally draws others toward them. They create relationships based on mutual respect, trust, and genuine connection rather than dependency or insecurity. This magnetic quality not only makes them more attractive, but also leads to deeper, more fulfilling relationships that stand the test of time. Loss is a powerful force that brings about deep realization and transformation in a person's life. Whether it is the loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, the loss of an opportunity, or even the loss of a way of life, the absence of something once taken for granted often sparks profound reflection. People tend to appreciate things more when they are no longer available, and this realization can lead to personal growth, emotional maturity, and a newfound perspective on life. Loss is painful, but within that pain lies an opportunity for growth and understanding that would not have been possible otherwise. One of the most immediate effects of loss is the realization of what truly mattered. When people have something within reach, they often fail to see its full value. It is easy to assume that things will always remain the same, that relationships will always be there, and that opportunities will always exist. However, when something or someone is lost, a sudden wave of awareness strikes, making a person realize just how significant that thing or person was. This is why people often regret not expressing their love, not taking certain risks, or not appreciating the little moments. The absence creates a void that brings clarity, showing what was important all along. Loss also teaches people about their own strength and resilience. When faced with a difficult loss, a person is forced to confront their emotions, adapt to a new reality, and find ways to move forward. Initially, the pain may feel unbearable, but over time, people realize they are stronger than they thought. They learn how to navigate through their emotions, how to rebuild their lives, and how to find new meaning. This realization is often life-changing because it proves that even in the worst moments, there is an inner strength that helps people survive and grow. Many people look back at their losses and recognize that, despite the pain, they became wiser and more resilient because of it. Another realization that loss brings is the impermanence of everything. People often live as if things will last forever, but loss is a stark reminder that everything in life is temporary. This understanding can shift one's perspective, making them cherish the present moment more. It encourages people to stop taking things for granted, to be more mindful of their relationships, and to make the most of their time. Knowing that nothing lasts forever does not have to be a depressing thought. Instead, it can serve as motivation to live life more fully and appreciate what is here today. Loss also forces people to reevaluate their priorities. When someone experiences a significant loss, they begin to question what truly matters in life. Things that once seemed important, such as material possessions, status, or superficial concerns, often fade in significance. Instead, deeper values like love, connection, purpose, and inner peace take precedence. Many people who have gone through great loss find themselves changing their paths, focusing more on personal fulfillment rather than external validation. They may choose to spend more time with loved ones, follow their passions, or live more authentically, because they realize how precious life truly is. In relationships, loss can be one of the greatest teachers. Many people only realize the depth of their feelings once someone is no longer in their lives. This applies to romantic relationships, friendships, and even family connections. When a relationship ends, there is often a period of reflection where a person begins to see what they could have done differently. They may recognize the value of what they had and gain a deeper understanding of themselves in the process. While some people use this realization to make amends or rebuild connections, others use it as a lesson to improve their future relationships. Either way, loss brings a heightened awareness of love, effort, and appreciation. Additionally, loss creates a pathway for change. Sometimes, losing something forces a person to step out of their comfort zone and take a new direction in life. This could mean finding a new career after losing a job, rebuilding a social life after the end of a relationship, or discovering new passions after a major setback. While the initial shock of loss can be overwhelming, it often pushes people toward new opportunities they would not have considered otherwise. Many successful individuals have stories of loss that ultimately led them to something better. The realization that life continues and that new doors can open even after painful experiences is a powerful lesson that loss teaches. Grief and sadness are natural responses to loss, but they also deepen emotional awareness. A person who has never experienced loss may not fully understand the depth of emotions that come with it. However, those who have endured loss often develop greater empathy and compassion for others. They become more understanding of pain, more sensitive to the struggles of those around them, and more appreciative of the moments they share with loved ones. This emotional depth enhances their relationships and allows them to connect with others on a more profound level. Another important realization that comes with loss is the understanding of self-reliance. When something or someone is taken away, a person may feel lost at first, but over time, they learn to rely on themselves more. They discover that their happiness and fulfillment cannot always depend on external factors, and they begin to develop a stronger sense of self. This self-reliance is a powerful tool that leads to personal growth, confidence, and the ability to find happiness even in the face of adversity. Ultimately, loss is a painful but transformative experience. It brings about realizations that shape a person's outlook on life, relationships, and personal growth. It teaches the value of appreciation, resilience, and emotional depth. While no one wishes to experience loss, those who do often emerge with a clearer understanding of what truly matters. They become more grateful for the present, more aware of their own strength, and more motivated to live life with greater purpose. In the end, loss is not just about what is taken away, it is also about what is gained through the lessons and realizations it brings. A woman who truly values herself does not allow herself to be treated as just an option. She sets a standard that others must rise to in order to be part of her life. She understands that being a choice rather than a priority diminishes her worth and attracts those who do not fully appreciate or respect her. When she establishes herself as a standard, she commands admiration, earns respect, and cultivates meaningful relationships that are built on mutual value rather than convenience. This transformation is not about arrogance or entitlement. It is about self-respect, confidence, and recognizing her own worth in a way that others cannot ignore. One of the most significant shifts that occurs when a woman becomes a standard is how people perceive her. When she refuses to settle for less than what she deserves, those around her begin to treat her with greater respect. She no longer attracts people who take her presence for granted because she has made it clear that she is not someone to be played with or taken advantage of. Instead of waiting around for someone to choose her, she chooses who she allows into her life. This shift in mindset alone changes the dynamics of every relationship she engages in, whether romantic, professional, or social. Becoming a standard means she has boundaries and she is unwavering in maintaining them. She does not tolerate disrespect, dishonesty, or inconsistency. She knows that allowing people to come and go as they please only diminishes her value in their eyes. Instead, she makes it clear that if someone wants to be in her life, they must show up with integrity, commitment, and effort. This is not about playing games or being difficult. It is about ensuring that the people around her align with her values and contribute positively to her life. When a woman stands firm in her expectations, she naturally filters out those who are not willing to meet them, leaving space for people who truly value her. Her self-worth is not dependent on external validation. She does not need someone to pick her, choose her, or reassure her of her worth, because she already knows it. She does not settle for being a second choice, a backup plan, or an afterthought. She does not chase people who are unsure about her. Instead, she focuses on building a life that is fulfilling and meaningful on her own terms. This level of self-assurance is magnetic. It draws in people who respect and admire her confidence, rather than those who would take advantage of any insecurities. When a woman sets herself apart as a standard, she also transforms the way she approaches dating and relationships. Instead of trying to prove herself to someone or win their affection, she allows people to prove themselves to her. She does not waste time on those who are inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or half-hearted. She is not afraid to walk away when she sees that someone does not meet her expectations. This does not mean she is unrealistic or overly demanding. It simply means she knows her worth and refuses to settle for less than she deserves. This mindset shift also impacts the way she carries herself. Confidence is not just about how she speaks or interacts with others. It is reflected in the way she moves, the choices she makes, and the energy she brings into a room. She does not feel the need to beg for attention or prove her value because she knows that her presence alone is enough. She radiates a sense of self-assurance that makes it clear she is not available for anything less than what she desires. This confidence is what sets her apart, making her not just attractive but unforgettable. Another key element of becoming a standard is self-investment. A woman who holds herself to high standards does not wait for someone else to bring fulfillment into her life. She actively invests in her own growth, happiness, and success. She pursues her passions, builds a career she loves, maintains her health, and surrounds herself with people who uplift and inspire her. She understands that the more she invests in herself, the less likely she is to tolerate situations, relationships, or environments that do not serve her. This level of self-sufficiency is deeply empowering because it ensures that she never feels trapped in a relationship out of fear of being alone. One of the most liberating realizations that come with becoming a standard is that she does not have to chase love, friendships, or validation. She knows that the right people will recognize her value without her having to constantly prove it. She does not settle for breadcrumbs or half-hearted efforts. Instead, she attracts people who genuinely see her for who she is and are willing to match her energy. Men, in particular, recognize this kind of woman instantly. She is not desperate for attention, she does not engage in drama, and she does not tolerate games. She is the kind of woman who makes a man step up or step out. There is no in-between. A man who is serious about her knows that he cannot afford to be inconsistent or half-hearted, because she will not entertain it. This is why a woman who becomes a standard is so powerful. She does not just command respect. She naturally attracts those who are willing to meet her at her level. The beauty of becoming a standard is that it extends beyond relationships. It impacts every area of life. A woman who values herself does not allow employers to underpay or undervalue her. She does not accept friendships that drain her or environments that make her feel small. She is intentional about the spaces she occupies and the people she engages with. She knows that in order to live a fulfilling life, she must surround herself with people who uplift and respect her, rather than those who only see her as an option when it is convenient for them. Ultimately, becoming a standard means embracing the belief that she is worthy of everything she desires and acting accordingly. It is about refusing to settle, maintaining strong boundaries, and cultivating a life so rich in purpose, passion, and fulfillment that she does not need anyone to complete her. The right people will see her value, rise to meet her expectations, and treat her as a priority, not an option. By setting the standard for how she is treated, she creates a life where she is deeply respected, cherished, and loved, not because she demanded it, but because she simply refused to accept anything less.